Hello again. So today I'm going to be talking about my kitchen breakdown story. At the age of 23, I was working in a very well-known restaurant in Dublin. The chefs at the time were some of the top chefs in the country, the head chef, executive chef, sous chef. And it was my second restaurant I was working in. And I went in with the goal of expanding my knowledge, growing as a chef, cooking really good food, with the end goal of opening up my own restaurant or food van or whatever it was going to be. And I was finding it hard to adjust to the pace, finding it hard to be organised and just own my shit, pretty much. I was a bit all over the place. I was on the starter section at this time, probably the busiest section in the kitchen. It's got the most ingredients, the most going on in all the different in all the sections in the kitchen. So it was a busy Saturday. We had fully booked for the whole day. There was a line going out the front door, even with people just trying to walk in and get seats. At this stage, most days I was running out of ingredients. I was missing things. I was just a little bit all over the place. And it came to the Saturday service. It came to about 12 o'clock. 4 plates of scallops went up on the pass. One of the most expensive dishes on the menu. And my preparation for the scallops dish was salad, pancetta. Salad, 2 pieces of pancetta. Salad takes 10 seconds to make. Pancetta, 6 minutes to cook on the grill. The grill is constantly on, so you just put it down and it just almost heats it up. It's like 70% cooked. Crisps it up, I should say. Plates of scallops go up. Table number 23, let's go. Boom, let's go. Table's ready. So the plates go up and tables are well, the plates were meant to be ready. All of a sudden I look over and they're looking at me going, "Chef, salad, let's go." And I was like, oh, look around, I'm like, I just realised I didn't put on the fucking pancetta. I didn't have the salad made. So I was looking around, I couldn't find my pancetta anywhere. Couldn't find it. Don't know where it went. I do know in the end, but couldn't find the pancetta. So all of a sudden the executive chef's shouting at me, the sous chef, they're all looking at me being like, "Chef, come on." And there's literally, if you've seen The Bear, the TV show, the docket machine is just constant dockets coming through into the kitchen. And there's already, the docket holder is already fucking rammed. I've got like six plates in my section, shit all over the place. All of a sudden I was just standing there and they come over and they're like, "Chef, come on." Like they're screaming at me being like, "Come on, you're always doing this. There's always one thing after another." And I'm looking and some of the chefs are rolling their eyes at the back of the head. Like just the pressure, just the energy in the room was just so much that I just broke down. I simply just stood there and I just broke down. And I stood there and tears started coming in my eyes and I wasn't like whimping. Like, oh, I was just like complete nervous breakdown. And I burnt out. And at that stage, I was already working quite a lot of hours. Like I said, it was built up because I was getting a bit of stick from the chefs up to that point anyway on different days because I just wasn't owning my section. And I had a breakdown. Head chef came up to me and gave me a John Player Blue and he goes, "Go out and have a smoke." And I went out and drilled that smoke and I cried in the alleyway, thinking to myself, "This is it. Like, this isn't for me. I don't want to be here. Kitchens aren't for me. I need to look at something else." Give up. Move on. Throw the towel in. Throw the apron down. I ended up going back in, finishing the service, but one of the chefs actually jumped into the section. He just started working because I wasn't able to work. At the end of the day, cleaned down my section, and then the head chef said, meet me in the office. So I went up to the office and him, executive chef, and the sous chef were all sitting there looking at me. I'll never forget it. I remember just feeling so broken and so embarrassed and so a lot of shame and fucking everything. A lot of insecurities rose as well from childhood, struggling in school a lot with ADHD and dyslexia and feeling like I could never get anything right or done. So a lot of that was come to the surface again. So I remember just looking at them and then they just go, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know, I'm doing my best." And they're like, "You're not doing your best." They're like, "Well, you know," and it was all this kind of stuff back and forth. And I was just shook. I was just broken. I was done. And I was like, "I just don't know if this is for me," and blah, blah. And they're like, "Look, we're going to give you another week to get your shit together. We need you being more prepared for service. We need you being more organised, having your section nice and clean, so on and so forth. They can't be babysitting me, pretty much. And I left that meeting, went down to the train station, crossed over the train tracks, went to the water, sat at the sea, and cried and rang my mother, rang my girlfriend at the time, and I was very upset. And I just was like, I don't know if this is for me. No, this isn't for me. I want to give up. Kitchens aren't for me. It's shit. So I pretty much then went home, lied in bed that night, and something just clicked. And it probably was an accumulation of the conversation we had, of them reminding me as well that, look, people are chomping at the bit to get into that place at the time. At my position, people were chomping at the bit. There was CVs coming in all the time. It was the place to be. So it was that, and it was stuff from childhood, and obviously there was a level of respect there I had for myself. Stuff from childhood, I mean, the way I was raised and all that, to always do your best and never give up. And I knew I had more in the tank. And it was just it was a big changing point for me. There was many changing points, but this is one of the stories anyway. And I just thought to myself, I looked up at the roof and I just went, you know what? I'm going in early tomorrow because I'm just chasing my tail all day. Usually, work started 8 p.m. is when we get in. Restaurant opens at 9. We get in at 8 and we just kind of prepare, and then boom. I'd be getting in at 8. I'd get changed. I wouldn't start till 8:10, right? 10 past 8, quarter past 8. Sometimes I'm just taking it slow, and then I'm chasing my tail. Comes to 9 o'clock, I'm not ready. My section isn't ready. So I went in an hour early the next morning. I said, right, I'm going to go in an hour early. Went in, no one else obviously is there except for the fucking cleaners. They were looking at me like I had 3 heads, being like, what's the story with this lad? He's obviously lost his mind, or he is being told he's going to lose his job if he doesn't get his shit together, which is me. So that was true. So I ended up going in an hour early. And guess what? By the time 8 o'clock came around, I had my list done out from the night before. That's what we did. Always prepare your list. So you come in the next morning, or whoever's on your section is going to come in the next morning and look at the list. I came in the next morning, and guess what? By the time it came to 8 o'clock, when other people were getting in, the head chef was in, just before that, I was ready. I was more than ready. I was overly prepared. I had the best day in a kitchen, in a job ever, up to that day. And it was the Sunday, so it was also a very busy day, but I was prepared. I had backup. I wasn't running out of things. I learned my lesson. Unfortunately, I had to hit that sort of rock bottom moment where I had a breakdown. It was building obviously over weeks, right? But that was the moment. And all I did was made a decision to change. I took action. I took responsibility for my actions. You know, you're expected in a job, you have certain roles, right? Roles and responsibilities. My role, my responsibility was to look after the starter section. I was there 5 days a week, sometimes 6. So it was my responsibility. And I wasn't in control of that. And that is something that I could control, but I wasn't. I was worrying about things that were out of my control. I was worrying about things outside of work. I was worrying about them getting angry at me, so on and so forth. And so good when you're prepared like that, I had even more prep for the next day. And by the end of that day, the Sunday, I didn't have to do as much. They pulled me into the office, same gig, head chef, executive chef, sous chef, and they said, how do you think you got on today? I was like, is this a trick question? Definitely is a trick question. Fucking pricks. In my head. I said, yeah, pretty good. I got in an hour early and I was a lot more prepared than usual. I said, yeah, you were. We want to see more of that. Well done. You fucking smashed it, chef. You smashed it. So from that moment on, I realised that I can control my actions, my decision making, the way I want to think, the way I want to behave, how I want to show up for myself and the people around me. So that was a huge learning curve for me. I'll never forget that moment. And from that moment on, of course I had slip-ups, human, but I was way more consistent. 99% of the time I would come in earlier, I would be more prepared, I would own my shit, I would take full responsibility. And I carry that into my daily life now. Take responsibility of the things that I can control. There's a really powerful lesson in that. So hopefully you can get something from that, but I'll never forget that. And they also said, I will mention, that's why we pushed you. That's why we put pressure on you. Some things were over the top and unnecessary for sure, but some of the things also I needed that bit of tough love, and someone else that might not have reacted well from it, getting screamed at and shouted at and stuff like that. There's times where I nearly walked out or I nearly hit my bosses in the face because it was that bad. But I stuck it out. And guess what? They were a sounder to me after that. Because I was consistent. And I showed that doesn't matter if you get knocked down. Doesn't matter if you get a no. Doesn't matter if you lose. You get back up. You keep on fighting. And you remind yourself of the why. My why I was there, was because I wanted to become the best chef possible and eventually set up my own restaurant or food van. And I did do that. But if I gave up that day and I changed career, I don't think I'd be where I am today. So, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Let's fucking go.